Hello again, we're back with another Swiss Army knife. This is a 111mm model Swiss Army knife. So of course the blade is over 3 inches and it does lock. So unfortunately we can't carry it in the UK without good reason. Little bit of a story behind me getting this one. As a lot of you will know, I absolutely love collecting Swiss Army knives. I usually go for the smaller ones, as in the ones that are less than 111mm, because I can carry them. Although most of them I don't, most of them I have for collection, as I am more of a collector. That said, I do like to carry them now and then, which is why I've mainly been avoiding the 111mm Swiss Army knives and lock knives as a whole, to be honest, because if I'm in a situation where I can use a lock knife, it's usually because I'm out in the woods and I just think it's better to have a fixed blade. That said, I recently went on a family trip up to the Scottish Highlands and we stopped in Tintrum, which is quite a nice little place, and there's this shop called the Green Welly shop. So my girlfriend and I had a look around the shop. This is only my second time visiting. First time was 4 or 5 years ago with the college. Back then I bought a little orange opinel. Anyway, because I knew that stand was there where they had the knives, obviously I had to go and get one. I like to, whenever I go out somewhere like that, I like to try and bring back a knife, especially since most of the time I'm not able to just go into a shop and buy a knife because there isn't any. I live in Fife, and Fife in Scotland, of course, and I can never seem to find shops that sell knives. Now there's one local gun shop to me which I occasionally visit and I can buy knives from there, but it's usually cheaper knives. It does sell CRKTs, occasionally bucks and things like that, but I've very rarely seen Victorinox knives in there. I've bought Leathermans and Gerbers from him once or twice, but broadly speaking he doesn't stock those, unfortunately. So whenever I find somewhere that sells Swiss Army knives, I get quite excited about it. I know that there's a few places in Edinburgh that sells them, but largely speaking I can never find anywhere that sells knives, especially locally to me, other than gun shops. But to be honest, I don't like going in gun shops. As much as I am a firearms enthusiast, I just find them to be a bit snobby. That's just the harsh reality. Not really sure why, but I never really seem to feel welcome, so I don't really like going into gun shops, and that's just a harsh reality. But anyway, while I was in Tintrum, obviously I had to get a knife, so I did. I knew that they sold opinels, and this was actually the last one that they had. This little purple opinel number 7, which I think is lovely. I like the colour. They're a bit more expensive than when I went before, by £2, but whatever, £14 for a lovely little pocket knife like this was fine. Anyway, on the way back out, and just before we left, I noticed there was a separate Victorinox cabinet. They actually had 3 displays, one in the main shop, one sort of, the Victorinox display was right outside the restaurant, and they had another sort of cheap lock knife and Leatherman display. Anyway, on the way out I saw the Victorinox display and I was having like a good stare at it for like 10 minutes trying to decide, did I want to get something, did I not? Because I didn't really want to spend all of my money in one go, because believe me, I could have quite easily done that. And we were actually planning on going to do something. We were going to visit Inverary jail. That was our sort of main goal, was to go out as a family and yeah, do that. So I didn't really want to spend all my money on this beast plus buying that opinel, and I knew I was going to have to buy food anyway. Now in the end I didn't get it. I didn't buy the knife because I didn't want to spend all my money in one go. In that shop it was £90, which to be honest I don't think that's too unreasonable, because when you buy knives or anything in a shop it's usually a lot more expensive than buying it online anyway, and the Scottish Highlands is always more expensive because it's a pain in the ass to get to. You've got to drive for hours and there's not really that many things going on in the Scottish Highlands. Shops are few and far between. So long story short, and I'll just get to the point, I ended up going to another shop in Fort William called Neversport, and I also picked up a Gerber, but I'll do a video on that another day. Obviously today we're talking about the Victorinox Work champ here. I just thought I should just add in that little story to give you some context, because when I saw the knife in the display cabinet I knew there and then I was going to have it, and I ended up going home with most of the money I came with, so I just ordered it a few days after I got home. So here it is. How long have I been blabbing for? Only 2.5 minutes. That's not too bad. I just thought it'd be interesting to give you some background context to this. Anyway, here it is, the Victorinox Work Champ. Now, I'm just going to say right away, I think this is realistically the biggest of the 111mm models that you're going to want to carry, because this is heavy. That's the first thing that hit me when I took it out of the box, was this is heavy, and I'm not complaining. I love it. It's reassuring. It feels nice. It is nice to have that much weight in the hand. Now, that much weight in the pocket walking for a few hours up a hill, not so sure about. That much weight in the pocket when helping someone move furniture to go to a new house, not so sure about. That said, if I'm doing something like that, I take the Leatherman Surge, and it's not too much of a big deal, but it can be a bit of a pain in the ass, especially depending on what I'm wearing. It kind of swings around and pulls the trousers down, especially if you have a smartphone in there, which, let's be honest, all of us do. Anyway, all that aside, let's just have a look at the tool set. I'll give you my thoughts, and I want to show you it compared to a couple of other knives, as well as showing you a couple of oddities that I've noticed with this one. So this is I think it's a 6-layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So we're sort of getting in the fat range of Swiss Army knives, the really big bulky ones where you might not want to put in your pocket. It could be done. I don't think it'd be too comfortable. I think if you were to EDC this, if you're allowed to, that is, you might want to put it in a bag or get a sheath for it and put it on your belt. Anyway, tools. We've basically got your standard Victorinox tool set. So you've got your opening layer with your can opener and screwdriver. I've said numerous times I love this can opener. It works great. And we have the largest of the bottle makers, bottle openers, sorry, getting mixed up. The largest bottle opener that Victorinox makes, which also doubles as a screwdriver, and because of the size, a pry bar as well as that wire bender, and it also locks. So we've got the liner lock. Now, just while I've got that out, I would just quickly like to compare it to another 111mm. This is the Outrider. This is the older version with the side lock, whereas this one here is the liner lock. If you notice, there's a substantial difference in the size of that bottle opener. Quite a big difference. So I think a lot of people are a lot more likely to have the Victorinox Soldier. If you do, you're already familiar with this bottle opener. It's the same one. And it does stop at that halfway mark as well. Don't think it locks. No, it doesn't. What else do we have here? Right, the knife. As I said, the knife does lock. It is over 3 inches. I think it's actually just barely over 3 inches, not by much. I suppose if you really wanted to, you could probably just grind it down a little bit and somehow cut off that lock, make it UK legal if you wanted to, because it is still just a slip joint, the same as any other. I don't know why, I'm not sure if it's my imagination or not, but that blade feels or looks a little bit different. I can't really notice too much of a difference side by side, but it just feels taller. Maybe I'm talking nonsense. That's one of the first things I thought when I opened it, is it feels a little bit taller, if that's the right word to use. Next up, and this is the smallest one with pliers. Yeah, we've got those Victorinox pliers, which still to this day I've never found a use for. Well, that's a lie. It's good for grabbing those really small screws and things like that, and pulling splinters out of your skin. It's good for things like that. Other than that, the only other practical thing I've used these sort of pliers for, and it was on my Swiss Champ, was I helped a lady pull a coin out of a trolley. That was a long time ago though, and obviously it wasn't with this, it was with my Swiss Champ. I'd also like to point out that on this one it has the nail nick, whereas every other Swiss Army knife that I have doesn't have that nail nick. But because of where it sits, it has to have it. You can't just pull it out of the front like you can with, say, the Swiss Champ. See, the Swiss Champ doesn't have a nail nick, but that's because it doesn't need it. I actually have to take the pliers back out to show you what other tool it has. We have, I'm just going to call that a large screwdriver because the other one's a small one. So yeah, we've got a large screwdriver, very similar to what's on the Swiss Champ, opposite the magnifying glass. I quite like where that is, it's right in the middle. So that should make it fairly easy to use. And believe it or not, you can actually use the Leatherman Bit Adapters on these. Surprised I've not heard that many people talk about that, but it does actually work. I wouldn't put too much force on it, but it does actually work. Next to that, we have the scissors. Just your standard Victorinox scissors, which are, of course, excellent. And in the same fashion as the Victorinox Outrider, if I can get hold of it, we have that rather small but quite long Phillips screwdriver, which is tucked away underneath the scissors. Next to that, and this is something I want to draw your attention to as well, it's probably nothing, but it might be worth being concerned about. Can you see the problem there? And I don't think it's really a problem, but I don't really know what else to say. Can you see what's going on there? Look at all those burrs. Now I haven't used this, I've literally got this knife just today, so that might be why. That's a lot of burrs though. I have noticed it on some other knives. I don't know if this has always been the case because I hadn't paid too much attention, but I will be paying attention from now on. It's not going to affect the quality or the use of it at all. Those bars will eventually get knocked off when you saw wood with it. I just wanted to point that out. And the final tool here, if I can get hold of it, is a metal file, which of course can be used as a wood file, and I'm sure Victorinox also says that's a hacksaw, and it does work as a hacksaw for small things. I wouldn't go crazy with it. Now this file actually feels a lot larger than it probably is. I'll just bring out another one for comparison. So here is the Victorinox Swiss Champ. I mean, it's not that much a difference, maybe an inch or so. It feels a lot bigger than it is. Maybe that's it. That's the main tools, and on the back layer we only have two tools, which is the awl, and I don't know what's going on here. They didn't put a sewing eye for the awl. I wonder if that's just to cut down costs, because most of the other awls have the sewing eye. So we'll just reference the Outrider once again. So you can see there's the awl on the sewing eye. I first noticed that they weren't putting awls on these and the Soldier, which I've mentioned this in my video of the Victorinox Soldier. You'd think with it being the Soldier model, it would be the most likely to have an awl, with it being a military knife. I just found that a little bit unusual. I mean, I've never used the awl, but it's a bit disappointing to not have it. And the final tool here is the Corkscrew, and the Work Champ actually came with this small screwdriver. I didn't have to put it in there myself, so that's nice. I wish they would do that as standard. And there's no hole for a pin. Of course, we've also got your toothpick and tweezers. I'm not really sure you can call that a tool, but it's definitely nice to have them. And of course the keyring. So that's all of the functions of this thing. As I said, I absolutely love it so far. I think it might be a bit bulky just for daily pocket carry. Now, one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention. I need to reference the outrider yet again. So if we open up the blade on both, as I said, this is now the liner lock version. I'm fairly sure they've discontinued using the side lock version, which is actually a shame, because I just recently came up with an idea making this UK legal. Now you might wonder, why would you want to do that? There's plenty others that's already legal. I just like the size and shape. Simple as that. What I was thinking, and I know a couple of other people have already done this, if you take off this scale, remove that lock, and then put on a different scale that's for the liner lock version, you've now got a non-locking knife. Then all you have to do is grind it down sub 3 inches, and then that should be perfectly legal to carry. There's one or two people that watch me, a guy in Israel actually, that said a couple of times that he does that. Although they're allowed a little bit longer blade length, he just deactivates the lock, which seems like a great idea to me. I forgot to actually make my point there. Yeah, so that's interesting. The blades are on opposite sides. It would be nice to have another outrider with the liner lock to compare, because I'm willing to bet on the liner lock the blade is on the left. It just seems a bit unusual. Now I think the reason for it is they swapped the blade on the liner lock version because the liner lock also works to lock the bottle opener and screwdriver. So it's a really simple switch over. I just thought I'd point that out because I didn't notice that until today. I don't know why they didn't just keep the side lock version anyway, because I thought that these were just fine. I quite like them. It was different. And pushing a liner lock the opposite way, what way is it? Yeah, pushing a liner lock to the right opposed to the left is just, it feels really strange. It takes a bit of time getting used to, but that's alright. Also, the scales are a slightly different shade of red. Also worth pointing out. Speaking of the outrider, just a quick side-by-side comparison, just so you can see what's going on there. In fact, I'll throw in a couple of knives so you can get an idea for size, because this thing is really quite big. So there it is next to the outrider and the soldier. And I'll also put it next to the Swiss champ, which in of itself is quite a beast. In fact, even just looking at the thickness, not too far off the Swiss champ. And just because it's so popular and it's my favourite multi-tool, I'll put it next to the Leatherman Surge, just so you get an idea of what's going on here. So yeah, not really sure what I'm going to do with this. I don't really feel like keeping it just for collection. I do want to use it. I think I'll carry it now and then when I go for a walk. Not really sure what use those pliers or the file is going to be when I go for a walk, or the screwdrivers for that matter. But this knife is just a try to have anyway. And I'll definitely have a video of this Gerber sooner or later. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're from Scotland, what part of Scotland are you from, and how easy is it to buy knives, like physically in person? Is there any shops near you, or shops within a reasonable distance, that sells knives? And when I say that sells knives, I don't mean Kitchen and Stanley knives. I mean Swiss Army knives, lock knives, even fixed blades. You know, the sort of knives that we like to see on YouTube. Are they available near you? Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.